Welcome, teachers and mentors. We are so excited to begin our first Expansion Forum course for the year. My name is Carol Giroux, and I will be one member of our forum team this evening. Before we jump into the course work for this evening, we'll take just a few minutes to review our course requirements. There are 3 sections for this year-long course. One section is for first-year early career K-12 teachers mentored by ASMP. A second section for second-year early career K-12 teachers mentored by ASMP. And a third section for all other K-12 educators across our state. Each section has a different instructor of record and a different CRN number, so please note your instructor now and again at the end of tonight's course. Also, there's a syllabus posted at the Blackboard site that you need to review to know all the expectations for this course. For your information, others can continue to register without a late fee through December, so invite your friends and peers to join in the fun. Mentor teachers will have until January to register and pay, although early registration is encouraged. In addition to attending either 4 or 5 of the 8 yearly topics, you do have other coursework obligations. These are found online at Blackboard Collaborate. On the next 2 slides, we'll give you the bare bones of what your deliverables will be to earn the 3 graduate credits for whatever section you choose to enroll. Take a quick look at this slide. It outlines what first and second year teachers who are mentored by ASMP must do for their 3 credits. Perhaps you want to take a screenshot. If you're a Mac user, use either Command-Shift+3 for a whole screenshot or Command-Shift+4 to draw the crosshairs across the desired portion. If you are on a PC, use the Print Screen button on your keyboard. This information can also be found on Blackboard Collaborate under the Syllabus tab, found at the left of the screen at Blackboard Collaborate. Basically, mentor teachers are working with their mentor throughout the year and submitting paperwork for each forum session attended, plus a college-level paper to submit, reflecting back on all 4 forums attended and their impact on your practice. Other educators, you have the forum work for each of your 5 topics chosen and attended, plus a choice of 1, either finding and reviewing an article related to the 5 course topics attended, totaling 5 articles, or 2, creating a lesson based on each forum topic. Tonight's is classroom management, delivering the lesson and submitting the lesson along with a reflection of how it worked. This totals 5 lessons. At the close of attending 5 topics of the 8 offered, you too will have a college-level reflective paper to submit. Both first and second year mentored educators and other educators, you should know that the full transcript of the syllabus can be found on Blackboard Collaborate. And any questions you have about the work should be directed to your instructor of record. All 3 groups will receive 3 graduate level credits for this year-long course. One more piece of business. In education, we use a lot of acronyms that provide a shorthand for our talk. And You'll see some that we commonly use on the screen. You can take a look at those. If during our session tonight we use an acronym that you're not familiar with, just please raise your hand and we will give you the full definition. We chose classroom management as our beginning forum topic since it is one of the first challenges all teachers face at the onset of a new teaching year. Hopefully, by now, you are comfortably settled in your rooms, becoming familiar with building and district policies, and are getting well acquainted with your students. We hope tonight's session will give everyone some new ideas, procedures, and tools in creating the most inviting and effective classroom environment for you and your students. By the close of this 2-hour forum, we hope you will have a better understanding of how to create a structure for classroom management that results in an effective, engaging group of students who are ready to learn. Before we go any further, I'd like to introduce you to Jan Littlebear, who works as a full-time university employee and is one of our technical support people, as well as a Culture Connection Coordinator for ASMP. She will give us some tips on using the collaborative tools and screens used for our breakout sessions this evening. So without further ado, I'll turn the mic over to Jan.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Carol. At the beginning of every expansion forum session, the first or second slide will have a reminder to check your audio. Please make sure you do that and use the audio setup wizard before you begin each session. In order to do that, you go to Tools, Audio and Audio Setup Wizard, and the wizard will walk you through the steps. It was our first slide tonight. Now, please note where the top button is. It's just above your name where the word participants can be found. This works like a microphone. Simply click on it to talk. If you look at my name, you'll see the little icon next to it now because I'm controlling the mic. And then click off of it when you hand the microphone back to the next speaker. The next thing I want to show you is above the participants window, you see a row of 5 icons. The first one is the emoticons to use in the chat area. I want everybody in the room to click on one right now and show me that you can find it and know where it is. Thumbs up would be good. The first one, thumbs up. Sarah and Dave, go to the first icon, the one with the little smiley face. Not the hands up. David and Rebecca, try the first one, the little smiley one, so that you can do a thumbs up. Okay, I'm going to continue. A couple of you are on the next one, but that's okay. We'll find it. The second button you see is the away button. And if you need to be gone for a short period of time, make sure you click that button to let us know that you've left the session for only a few minutes. And then please make sure you click it when you come back. This is very important for several reasons. A presenter might call on you to answer a question, and because for many of you it is a university class, we take attendance periodically throughout the evening, so you need to make sure you've clicked back in. Okay, everybody, I want you to click on away so that I know you know where it is, and then click right back. Oh, look at that. You're all leaving. Nope, the away button. It's the second one, away. Not the hands up, but the away button. Okay, click back off so your screen's clear now by your name. The third button, this is the one some of you keep clicking on. It's raising your hand if you have a question. Click on it. Now, everybody's going to have a question, so click perfect. Now click off of it. We know where that one is. Ooh, all the dings. Okay, the third icon, oh, we just did the third one. The fourth one is the polling one. I don't think we're using that tonight, but sometimes the facilitator might want to ask a quick question and get a yes or no. That's the one with the little check next to it. So sometimes the facilitator simply wants to know if it's all going well, if pacing is good, and ask you to poll. So I'll do that right now. Everybody, is pacing okay? If so, click on the little green arrow. Great, 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 great. For some of you, I'm sure this is secondhand and you've done it before. Go ahead and click off so that we have a clean slate, and we'll go to the next slide. Okay, this next slide is going to show you all of the tools that you use with a whiteboard. And when you're using it, you have a whole range of tools. You can see them on your screen right now. The first one on there is the selection tool. I'm going to stop. Terry, do you have a question? I'll turn the mic off.
No, I just lost my name, though.
Okay, Don, did you have a question for us?
No, I was wondering why that was still marked.
Well, it's a good question. So just go back up to the little hand underneath your name and click on it. That little red thing should go away. And sometime, teleconference person, I need you to give us your name because we don't have it. But if you could type it in the chat box, or I'll let go of the mic. Teleconference person, can you tell us who you are? That's okay. I'm going to continue. We'll get it later. Okay, we went through the selection tool. You click on that, and then it will highlight anything on the whiteboard so that you can move it around. The second one is a pointer tool, and there are a variety of pointers in there. So when you're at the whiteboard, if you need a pointer and you're talking, that's where you would get it. The pen stroke tools, the next one, it's a highlighter, and it's something you might use if you need to make hash marks or, oops, I told you wrong. The pen stroke and highlighter tool is something you can use for hash marks. I do not think we're going to be using that one tonight. And then the next one is the one we use a lot, the one called text tool. It has two options. The option we would like you to use is the one with the large A. It lets you type across the screen, and you have to watch it and hit return, and then it'll give you a second line. If you take the one that we've got the do not use sign through, what will happen is you'll get a little box with a scroll tool, and we can read it, but it's just not quite as handy as the single A. So be sure we can see the entire box if you use that second tool. Okay, on this slide, this is showing you how to take a screenshot. If you have a Mac, it tells you in the first one, Carol already mentioned it to you once, you do Command Shift and a 3, that does the whole screen, or Command Shift and a 4, that lets you draw a box around what you want to copy. And then if you have a PC, they make it simple as pie. You just click the print screen button and then you'll have a picture. So, grouping ourselves tonight. Later in the forum, we're going to ask you to put yourself into rooms, and we want to do it by grade levels. We'll be doing this 2 times. You can see the slide now. So if you teach all grades, or if you're a special education teacher or some other elective that covers many levels, please decide which one you're going to want to use tonight and then go to that room. So it might be the one that you have the most concerns for meeting classroom needs. So Carol and I are playing with the screens. Here we go. Later on, when you are asked to move yourself, while there are several ways to get yourself into a room, and many of you have done it, we're going to ask tonight that you use one way, and that is you go to the main room. It's a rectangle to the right of those 4 icons I took you through earlier, and it has a drop-down menu. You drop down, click on the grade level that you want, and then when you unclick, you will magically be in that grade level. So we're going to ask you to move yourself 2 rooms that way, and then when the timer's up in your room, we're going to ask you to move back to the main room. One more thing, the timer. The timer's located near the top of your screen in the middle, and it only shows when it's set, so it's not showing right now. It's just a blank space up there. But it does look like the one that's on your screen right now. Several people have asked us in the past where it is, and if you don't know where it is and can't find it, raise your hand right now and I'll give you a better description. The timer will be on when you're in the room, so we need to pay attention to it. Okay, the moderators and facilitators of tonight's session are here to help and support you if you have any problems. So please use the chat box down underneath the list of participants if you have any problems. One of us will get to you. Use it. Or raise your hand at any time and we will try to get to you in as timely a manner as possible. Are there any questions about the tools and doing a class online? Okay, I'm going to turn this back to tonight's facilitator, Carol, and the interesting thing about all of us who use this mic is we often forget to turn it off. Oops, a question. Marianne, I'm going to turn the mic on and you can click on the mic and ask your question. Interesting, Marianne, I saw the mic next to your name and it had a red X through it and you were not coming through. So a second option is you can go down to the chat box and chat your question by texting and we'll answer it that way. And chances are your question is one everybody wants to know, so go ahead. Sorry, could you go over the timer again? Sure. Up at the top there's a blank space and it's not on now so you can't see it. When it is on, it looks like, I'm going to go back to that slide. It looks like that little box down there. There's just a box with a time in it, and it will count down for you. We're only going to be using it twice tonight when we're in the rooms. So let's hope that this mic now turns off as I turn it back to Carol. And Marianne, if you click on the hand thing again, your hand will go down. Here we go, Carol.
All righty, I'm Carol Giroux, and tonight Betty Walters, our project's EED liaison, will assist me. Betty is a former teacher and superintendent from Kodiak. She's been a part of the mentoring project for over a decade. I'm in my 8th year as an Alaska statewide mentor. I first started in teaching in Oregon in the early 70s. After deciding that the battleground for control that my classroom had become wasn't the place for me, I came to Bethel, Alaska, where I was fortunate to be hired as a PE and humanities teacher for the elementary school. Teaching games, arts and craft, and camp songs to multiple large classes of students, I learned to state expectations explicitly and positively, and wait for students to follow directions, rewarding with lots of specific praise along the way. Since that time, I've taught for numerous school districts across the state in a variety of K-12 positions. Presenting this evening are 6 ASMP active mentors, as well as 2 EED and university staff members. Each member of the team will introduce themselves when they talk to you this evening. Hal and I are the expansion forum coordinators for all the expansion forums. Your follow-up questions can be directed to us or to your mentor directly. Here's our agenda. We've done our welcoming. Jan went over our tools and polling. We named our facilitators. In just a moment, I'll be going over collaborative norms and starting our connector and our standards for this evening. Then Ed will take over and do Learning Piece 1, Classroom Procedures and Routines. Lisa Stewart will jump in for Learning Piece 2 on Stoic. Jan will come back to do Cultural Connections with us. And Hal will end our evening with Being a Balanced Professional and our reflection and closure. These are our collaborative norms. Let's keep them in mind, for they will guide our discussion tonight. Equity of voice means both allowing everyone an opportunity to add to the discussion and being willing to contribute to the conversation. Active listening. It's been a long week for most of us. Still, let's do our best to listen mindfully, staying focused to what others are saying without thinking about how to respond. Respect for different perspectives. Let's honor and learn from one another by listening and considering thoughtfully experiences and viewpoints that may or may not parallel our own. Safety and confidentiality. When sharing personal experiences and observations in an effort to respect privacy and to retain confidentiality, please withhold names of specific sites or people. Online etiquette. We ask that you please state your name before you speak on the talk button. When we do cold calls this evening, you do not have to say your name, just respond by pressing the talk button. Remember to click off talk when you're finished talking. The chat box is available for questions, comments, or to let us know if you run into any glitches with the audio or when recording on the screen. By definition, a forum means an open discussion. Because of this, we have an expectation that you participate to a high degree by sharing your thoughts and ideas verbally and in writing on the whiteboards. The Alaska Statewide Mentor Project uses Alaska's 8 teaching standards in our work with you. These are listed for you on the screen. These 8 standards use a common language and describe a shared vision for Alaskan teachers and the best practices that support them. One of our mentor tools, our guide, also incorporates and informs a developmental view of teaching while at the same time fostering excellence in learning. Tonight, we'll address 4 of the 8 and we'll focus on Standard 6, creating an engaging environment. Other standards covered to a lesser degree tonight are Standard 1 on philosophy of education, Standard 2, student learning, Standard 3, respecting individuals and cultures, and Standard 8, developing as a professional. As part of tonight's forum, we'll model best practice teaching strategies and integrate some of the 49 techniques from Doug Lemov's book, Teach Like a Champion. The first technique we will be modeling is cold call. So, Brian Cleary, would you please read the strategies that are on the screen aloud to us?
Cold call, number 22. Begin with the end, number 6. Name the steps. Everybody writes. Entry routine. Wait time. Type transitions. Joy factor. And pepper baby.
Brian, thank you so much for being our first guinea pig. Notice how this technique 22 is presented on this slide with an orange background and a blue text. That's how each technique will be shown on the slides tonight to remind you that we're modeling a particular strategy from Teach Like a Champion. One more item. A graphic organizer was sent to you this evening, something to help you capture notes and thoughts. We hope that you have it in front of you, and if you don't, perhaps you can just grab a sheet of paper for recording your thinking for the next couple of hours. Graphic organizer will be turned in as part of your evening's coursework. I'll now pass the microphone to your first facilitator for the evening, Ed Sotelo. He will take us through our connector and our first learning piece. Ed?
All right, thank you, Carol. Brian, I got to hear a little more about this technique, Pepper Baby, maybe later. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Ed Sotelo. I'm currently working as an Alaska statewide mentor. I've been teaching in the state since 1984 at different grade levels from K through 12. A lot of those years were in special ed. I've taught in Gamble, Cleat, Cooper Landing, Homer High, and as a behavioral specialist for the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District. Dave Boyd, another statewide mentor, he's going to be my backup just in case I lose connection. Now, Dave's been living in Alaska since 1988, and he's served students in Hooper Bay and in Fairbank region for 23 years. In his 6th year as a mentor, Dave now is mostly serves students who live in villages in Northwest Arctic. I want to start this evening out by personally thanking everyone for logging on tonight. The role you play in the lives of students you work with is an important one. Everything we say and everything we do has a huge impact on how a child views learning and education. And I personally feel that educating youth is the most important role a person can take on. So everybody, thank you for what you do. All right, so let's get on with our connector. We'd like to begin this evening with the connector. We'd like for you to grab a paper and a pencil for this activity. I'm going to give you an opportunity to write some thoughts down in response to a prompt you see on the screen. Now, your thoughts will eventually be used for tonight's closing reflection. The prompt reads, write at least 1 or 2 examples of challenges or issues that you're currently having in the classroom. We're going to give you about 3 minutes to write those thoughts down, and everyone will report back to a screen that our tech person, Jan, has set up for us so that we can jot these concerns down. We'll take another look at these challenges at the end of tonight's forum to make some connections. If this works out, I'm hoping that we'll have strategies and techniques from tonight's session that'll address a good percentage of our challenging examples. So once again, everybody, if you can write down 1 or 2 examples of challenges or issues that you're currently having in the classroom right now. We'll call you back in about 3 minutes just for a quick share out. So any questions you might have? I'm going to get off the mic so you can ask some questions. All right, we'll see everybody in 3 minutes. All right, mental note, we might have to change that to 2 minutes, or maybe even 1 minute, but hopefully everyone has written down a few challenges. So welcome back, everyone. Let's take a couple minutes to share out now some of the challenges that we're facing in the classroom. I'm going to encourage everyone to type your ideas using the A tool on the left-hand side of the screen, or just go ahead and click on the mic as soon as I get off and offer them verbally, in which case we'll go ahead and type in your suggestion. Just a reminder, as some of us share out using the mic, don't forget to click the mic off when you're done. Any questions at this point?
Challenges when students don't listen while I'm giving directions.
Okay, Brian, someone's going to type that in on the screen right on the left-hand side. And feel free to use the mic, everyone, or the chat, or just go ahead and type your challenge right onto the screen. Either one of those options work.
I don't even see. How do I write?
The keyboard.
Well, where? How do I write in here?
Looks like it's
Won't.
interactable.
Gotta be one of these tools.
Look, there's a...
Draw a pen. I don't want a pen.
That,
Enter text.
there you go.
Well, then how?
Click it. Click on it. Click somewhere.
Terry, take those whiteboard tools. The fourth one down is an A. Click on that, and that will let you type. And then you just put the marker somewhere on the blue column, if we can. And that's how you type on that. This first time out, we have so much to learn tonight. Thanks.
And if you've typed something in or gotten a chance to get on the mic or in the chat room, take a look at some of the things that people are writing down. A lot of these things, man, I remember experiencing when I was in the classroom. So really, I really want to thank everyone for sharing your ideas. I don't want to leave this. I'd like to stick with it and start dealing with it right now, but you know, some of the techniques, some of the strategies that we're going to be going over tonight are going to be addressing these later on tonight. So we'll come back to it. And then we'll see if we can make some connections and possibly have some strategies or solutions to some of those challenges up on the board. So next we're going to move on to our first learning piece, classroom procedures and routines. We'd like to take some or make some connections between a standard that we just mentioned. It was standard number 6, and some of the strategies and techniques dealing with effective environment and engagement. Learning module number 1 deals with standard 6, which reads, a teacher creates and maintains a learning environment in which all students are actively engaged and contributing members. Now I'd like to start tonight's learning piece number 1 with a basic definition of classroom management. Harry Wong, a leading researcher on the topic, says, classroom management refers to all the things a teacher does to organize students' space, time, and materials so that learning can take place. He also adds that establishing a well-managed classroom early in one's teaching career can help a teacher avoid being part of that large percentage of teachers that leave the profession discouraged and overwhelmed. Research shows that 2 big components that help facilitate a good classroom management plan are procedures and routines. And we're not talking about rules or a discipline plan, but rather a method or process for accomplishing things in a classroom, like having a procedure to follow when working on science experiments, or having efficient transitional procedures in place, or the use of assignment books, or even assigning peer partners to provide student support, and so on. So our first lesson tonight is to create a structure for a classroom using a series of procedures and routines. So in this next piece, we're going to go ahead and put ourselves into grade level rooms where you'll find a whiteboard broken up into quadrants. Each grade level room will have a facilitator to guide us, keep us on track and on time. The 4 quadrants are titled room preparation, that's on the top left, which could include things like bulletin boards, walls, floor space, storage space, things like that. There's classroom procedures on the top right, and that could involve things like seat work, strategies, techniques involving teacher-led instruction, transitions to in and out of the classroom. I saw a few really cool ones today. General procedures, expectation charts. And on the bottom left is accountability procedures, communicating assignments, feedback and monitoring. Could have something to do with grading too. On the bottom right, positive reinforcement. Anything involving intrinsic rewards, discipline plan, anything that you do to motivate your students. Now your assignment is going to work as a team and input not just ideas but descriptions of procedures and routines that you've seen actually work. And this could be procedures that you've seen work with a cooperating teacher or a team teacher, a veteran teacher down the hall, or ideas that you've successfully have tried. Some examples could be things like how you'll start a class with an assignment, with a seat assignment so that you can quickly take roll, or some cool ideas to organize your transitions, or plan your posting assignments on the same spot every day just to establish a routine. So you got the idea. Your moderator in each one of those little rooms will navigate through 4 of the quadrants, giving you about 2 to 3 minutes per quadrant topic. We'll have a total of, I'd say, 12 to 15 minutes to complete the activity. So 2 to 3 minutes for each quadrant. Plan on having a reporter share out at least 1 or 2 of those ideas that kind of catch your eye. At the end of this evening's forum, we'll have an hour to go back through the slides and take notes in case you don't get everything written down during a break or a session. Or you can always take a snapshot of this screen for later reference. So I'm going to stop right now just to get give you an opportunity to ask some questions. Are there any questions out there? Carrie, I think you're trying to ask a question, and I think your mic is still not working, so you might want to use the chat room. Or it could be just your name's up there from the last time you tried to get on. Okay, so remember, each grade level has 1 screen that everyone will type on, 2 to 3 minutes on each quadrant. Pay attention to that timer so you can work through all the boxes. Don't forget to select your reporter in your group to share out. You can do that right off the bat. Or at least, and just have them share 1 or 2 of those ideas that really stand out. Remember, how do you place yourself into a room? Jan's actually going to remind us on how to do that. Jan?
I love it. It appears most everybody is. If you don't remember, go up to the little box at the top that says Main Room. It has a drop-down menu. Click on the room, unclick on the room you want to go to, and it should put you there. And in the meantime, I will start the timer for 12 minutes right now. Ed, Brenda, Chelsea, and Rebecca, if you go to the main room, there's a drop-down menu. Click on the room you need to go to, and you'll go right to it. Brenda, Chelsea, Rebecca, go to main room. It's a rectangle, and there's a drop-down menu. Perfect. Rebecca, what room do you want to go to? I'll let go of the mic, and you tell me, and I'll put you in there. Rebecca? Rebecca, do you see where the main room is? If you do, put your clicker on the arrow and it will show you the 4 choices you have, and then unclick on the room you want. Rebecca, if you're there, go to the icon and give me a thumbs up so I know you're there, and I'll help you get into your room.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Remember to click your name in the click on the main room box so that you can return to the whole group, and we'll begin as soon as everyone is back into that main room. which I think everybody is. It looks that way. So welcome back. Let's start out our report with a reporter from K2. If you can pick someone out and mention some of the routines and procedures that appear to work well in a maintained classroom management situation. Do we have a reporter for K2?
Yeah, this is Rachel Gerard. I teach at Finger Lakes. The one thing that we really pulled from it was for the room prep. The chair caddies are a really great thing to be organized, as well as rug space for hands-on learning, etc. It's really easy to use a rug for personal space as well, which allows you to be more organized. Classroom procedures, constant review is always important, and it's very nice to always model it. I think as teachers, we're always told kids learn better when they see what they're supposed to be doing versus just being told verbally. And then as far as accountability procedures, review and reflect frequently, and always having that positive contact, not only with the parents, but the children as well. And then the last, positive reinforcement, I think one of the most important thing is greeting and ending the day on a positive note. So that is what I took from our collaboration.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, the next group up there is the 3-5 group. Do we have a reporter for the 3-5 group?
Yes, under room preparation, by the way, I'm Corey Shepard. I teach in Kotzebue at June Nelson Elementary. Under room preparation, we talked about having a nice, clean, organized room, making sure everything has a place, good traffic flow, having all your signs and bulletin boards in place, a lot of your other accountability things that are mentioned in the other boxes, those need to be in place to have your room in harmony. For classroom procedures, we talked about having things labeled, having things established clearly for your students, things of a safety nature like fire drills, your classroom rules, simple things like putting chairs in, really reinforcing those things early on. Under accountability, we had, that was where we had the least sharing, but policies in place for turning in late work, picking up work after you've been gone for a while, and on the teacher side, having our paperwork in line for mid-quarter reports, grade card time, having things in line. And under positive reinforcement, everything from offering warm fuzzies, good choice tickets for weekly or daily drawings, having class and group awards, or if you trade classes, having something for each homeroom or each class, offering them things like snacks or privileges within the classroom, like a classroom job, and always, you know, a good call home to talk to the parents and let them know how great their student's been.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. You know, a lot of these ideas and a lot of the ideas that K2 came up with, you know, we may have tried, but I'm sure there's some things here that we've just picked up. I saw something that I had never tried in the classroom, and there might be situations that will take care of those challenging situations just by trying some of these. So you know, everything has a place, and it could possibly work. Take advantage of that screenshot, or jot down those ideas that you hadn't noticed. They could come in handy. Okay, our next screen up there is 6-8. So do we have a reporter for 6-8?
Hello, this is Joshua Goldsmith. For room preparation, again, we had more bulletin boards, student names, pics on the walls, basically letting them know that, you know, this is their classroom as well, not just ours as teachers. Class objectives posted, and setting up a little preparation with seat arrangements, so that way they know where they're sitting. Also the use of timers, so they know when to begin a task and when a task will be ending and when to end their conversations. For procedures, we have bell exercises. That's something that they get started on as soon as they walk in and when class begins, so they know it's basically starting to set up their expectations. And to have those that routine be the same throughout the whole year. Expectations should be known and visible. So students, you have a conversation with them when something arises, but you can compile a list of these expectations and print it off as the list grows. For accountability procedures, we have journal prompts, again, to get them started, planner checks to ensure that they are writing down the current information if they have homework or whatnot. And proximity to students, so walking around the class was a real big one, letting students know that you are not just in front of the classroom, you're in it, you're in the classroom. You can also alleviate some problems with maybe a student that has too much energy. For positive reinforcement, we have praise, thanking students for their effort, not just their work. Some people include point systems for positive behavior and have rewards such as pizza parties or gym and outside time. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh, that was great. So we have a reporter from 912.
Hi, I'm the reporter. This is Sarah Jean. For room preparation, one of the big things we actually talked about was the popsicle sticks with student names on them, or coffee stirrers with student names on them for random call-outs, so students don't know who's going to be picked that day. Bell activities and objectives on the board, kind of do-it-now activities for when students arrive. And so those are some things we discussed. And accountability procedures, so we talked about employability sheets or effort score sheets, participation grades. All of those are kind of the same things to keep students accountable and self-reflecting. And for classroom procedures, we talked again about the do it now or the bell activities, the transition time, and different ways you could make things easier, like having things organized. Part of room preparation can spill into procedures as well. And then for positive reinforcement, we had a lot of discussion about not just praising kids, but being specific on the praise you're giving, not just great job, but specifically so that it's for that student and for what they're doing and not just anybody. And recognizing students for their efforts, not necessarily just for their academics. And praises, high fives, as well as written positive reinforcement helps. And we also, again, talked about the employability or participation points in that category as well.
Sarah Jean, thank you. Actually, thank you to all the volunteers. That was a great list. I took pictures of every single one of those screens. And I think Jan did too, and you'll be getting, I think, a recorded version of this later on down. I'm sure she'll talk about it later. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time on this learning piece, and hopefully you've gained some insight on ideas to use in the classroom, maybe even tomorrow. A lot of great teachers have argued that great classrooms rest on an everyday culture of strong, apparently mundane routines that empower you to teach efficiently and at the same time empowers the students to excel at academics. Making routine tasks automatic frees a lot of time up, often astounding amounts of time for teaching. So keep that in mind as we move on to Lisa Stewart, who will lead us into the next learning module. Lisa? Lisa, did we lose Lisa?
Yeah, I didn't have my mic all the way on, I guess. I'm kind of snickering, Ed. I thought you called our volunteers victims, which kind of cracked me up. They were volunteers. And thanks for leading that last activity. Thank you also for the participants. That was very engaging and really refreshing to hear new ideas. So my name's Lisa Stewart. I'm currently working as an urban mentor in the Mat-Su School District. I've been an educator in Mat-Su for 19 years now, both in elementary and middle school settings. The majority of those years I spent teaching in a primary multi-age setting. I've also worked as an elementary counselor and as a district coordinator for positive behavioral interventions and support in all of the Mat-Su elementary schools. This is my 4th year as a state mentor. My backup tonight is Don Campbell, who is in his 4th year as well as a mentor with the project. Before becoming a mentor, he taught for 37 whopping years in the old state-operated school system and Mat-Su. Interesting. Mostly in elementary grades. Thanks, Don, for backing me up tonight. You never know what can happen. So we're moving on to learning activity number 2, STOIC. We know that classroom and behavior management are closely related. Both learning pieces tonight can easily fit within the same Alaska teaching standard, professional teaching standard number 6, an engaging environment. This second learning piece is going to provide you with just one structure or a tool that can also be used for addressing some of the difficult challenges that you may be experiencing in your classrooms. Remember our connector activity where you sat and listed some of the challenges you may be currently facing in your classroom? It's our goal tonight for you to be able to address some of those difficulties that you wrote down in the connector activity with the STOIC tool and some of the new learning from tonight. So we'll start with classroom management is an ongoing process with variables that can be adjusted to improve the environment and to improve student behavior. Some of you may be familiar with Dr. Randy Sprick's work, CHAMPS. If you would just use your tech tool and give me a thumbs up under the smiley face or a smiley face if you're familiar with this resource. Hold on, nice. Thank you. Okay, well, the STOIC tool that I'll describe comes from Dr. Sprick's work. It's embedded in the CHAMPS book and may be helpful for guiding you in how to make effective decisions about managing your classroom behaviors. Webster's definition of STOIC is to remain calm in the face of adversity. This seems like a suitable acronym for a tool, STOIC, that may be helpful for problem-solving behavior in your classroom. By the way, Dr. Sprick is very fond of acronyms. Dr. Sprick's work is based on the behavior principles that most human behaviors learn and occurs for a reason, which also means that behavior can be changed or shaped into a more desirable form or into more desirable forms. The STOIC acronym is now on your screen, and I'll briefly go over each letter. You're encouraged to take notes on your graphic organizer as we're working through this acronym. Again, an acronym is supposed to help give you a reminder of an approach you can use for problem solving. When addressing concerns in the classroom, this is going to sound familiar, listening to Ed, ask yourself, what are some of the variables I can manipulate or I can change in each of these categories that may improve student behaviors? The categories meaning the STOIC, these 5 categories. Dr. Sprick would consider manipulating any of these variables in your classroom as an intervention. You're trying to get a different response from your students by manipulating these variables. The first one is structure, next to the S. Structure, you might want to jot down some of these ideas on your graphic organizer. We talked about routines and procedures in our last learning piece. Maybe pencil sharpening, maybe your beginning and ending routines and the importance of that. Your daily schedule would fit under the structure of your classroom, your room arrangement and material storage. Also your attention signal, managing student assignments, managing independent work, manipulating the overall structures in your classroom will impact behavior. Now we're going to look at the T in STOIC, teach. Teach, and clarify your expectations for instructional activities. Teach and clarify your expectations for your transitions. Monitor and provide feedback during an activity or a transition so students know how they're doing. Corrective feedback should be immediate, calm, consistent, and seen as a learning opportunity. Prepare lessons in advance, if you will, for how you will teach these activities. We directly and explicitly teach kids reading, math, science. We need to do the same with behaviors. If students aren't meeting the expectations in the classroom, assume that you've not been clear and reteach. So let's look at the O in STOIC, the observe. Circulate when possible and scan all sections of the classroom continuously. This is very preventative. Give feedback that's specific, descriptive. Make sure it's age appropriate and immediate. Use data to monitor and adjust your classroom management and your discipline plan if you need to. One of the simplest variables, interventions, strategies, whatever you want to call it, from STOIC is the observe and monitoring. Dr. Sprick would suggest that you think of how you adjust your own behavior when there's a police officer following you on the road. Very effective. Which, let me move my slides down here. Brings us to the I in STOIC. The I stands for interactions. Interact. Positive, build positive relationships with your students and families. Provide positive specific feedback. For example, I noticed Marie followed directions the first time. I noticed Matthew was prepared and ready for math. Being specific. Provide intermittent celebrations, possibly class points, parties, or additional game time. Provide a high ratio of positive interactions, paying more attention to appropriate behaviors so that you get more of those appropriate behaviors. Another way to interact or increase those interactions, work on the interactions, would be greeting your kids at the door, doing interest surveys, just learning more about your students. Building relationships with students will increase appropriate behaviors. They work better for teachers that like them. Now we're looking at the C, and C stands for correct. Correct consistently, calmly, and employ a class-wide system to increase motivation and responsible student behavior. Dr. Sprick recommends that when you're having concerns or challenges with behavior in the classroom, you should manipulate or change as many of these 5 variables in STOIC as you can. He also says that if you only address one, don't ever let it just be the C in STOIC. Just manipulating the corrections will not change the behavior of some of your most challenging students. So just keep that in mind. He also recommends that your consequences are mild, so that you're more inclined to be consistent with implementing mild consequences. One idea I used to use in the classroom and is listed in the CHAMPS book as well would be a menu of consequences. They're pre-planned and they're consistent and fair with all students. That way you can deliver them consistently. First, know your school-wide discipline policies or grade level and adjust accordingly. An example in my classroom might have been first the use of proximity or a gentle reminder, maybe a minute owed, next, maybe a third time 2 minutes owed, and possibly a phone call to parents or after school detention. Those days are gone. But this is just an idea about consistency. The menu of consequences is mild and consistent. Let's see, I think I need to move over screen. So on your screen now, the tool on the screen comes from the Interventions book, so not from the CHAMPS book, but from the Interventions book by Dr. Randy Sprigg. This is the STOIC tool. It's basically a checklist of questions that you can answer yes or no to for making decisions about manipulating the variables or the interventions in your classroom. So if I were just to look at the structure or the organization piece, the S, question number 1, for instance, is the room arranged so you can get from any part of the room relatively easy, yes or no? Number 2, can you and your students access materials and pencil sharpener without disturbing others, yes or no? So you could fill out this checklist and it would give you an idea of some things that you could adjust to get a different response from your students. The checklist can be your guidance for making decisions to get a different response from students. In this next learning, we will again go to our grade level rooms where you will find one whiteboard with the initial STOIC. As a group, you're going to brainstorm and type your ideas that you've just heard about or ideas from the previous learning. That might sound like a strategy you could use to improve classroom and behavior management. You're going to have about 2 to 3 minutes per letter in STOIC for brainstorming before you choose a reporter, and we will share out with the whole group like we just did with Ed's activity. So ask your roommates for clarification if you have questions. You can just talk among yourselves. Are there any questions for me? Okay, we're going to move on. See you back in 15 minutes for a brief share out of the connections and ahas with STOIC. Jan's going to remind us how to get in and out of our rooms. Jan?
You all are already moving, so just go to the main room, click and unclick where you want to go, and we'll bring you back at the end of 15 minutes. I'm going to set the timer. So facilitators in the room, be sure you have a reporter to come back, and let's get going. Connor and Julie, if you need help, raise your hand and let me know. Julie, take the microphone and tell me what room you want to go to, and I'll put you in there.
3 to 5, please. It let me go last time, but there's a dot next to that for me now.
And Rebecca, are you there? I can move you too if you like.
Jan, this is Liz. We need our screen changed in the 9 through 12 room.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm hoping that everybody's back in the main room and we're going to do a share out. So thank you for participating in that activity. Do we have someone from the K2 group that would like to share out?
Hi, my name is Hannah Willie, and I teach ECE, and I'll be sharing for the pre-K through second grade group. So I don't know if there's a screen that will come up, so I'll just talk. For Structure Your Classroom, we talked about attention signs, having a visual schedule, and making sure that we're predictable and consistent. One participant shared the SMART skills, smart ways to greet each other, make friends, enter the room. Then for Teach Expectations, we talked about making sure that you prepare your lessons, that you post photos, that it's clear and simple and short and sweet, especially with our age range. It's important that we're very clear. Then observe and supervise. We had a participant share to write notes on stickies and walk around for each student. So that way there are things that you can keep track of. And then we had a participant share Anita Archer's strategy of walk around, look around, talk around, which is just a reminder to keep moving around the classroom, looking around the classroom, and talking while you're moving around the classroom. Then interact positively, calling home with good news, sending notes home, smiling. One of my favorites was to wear goofy socks, because when you sit on the floor, then the kids can laugh. I thought that was brilliant. And finally, for correct fluently, being consistent and calm, being exact when you're doing it, and then also be consistent in your intentions and reactions. And finally, that younger students do have more of a buffer for chances, but that number of chances needs to decrease over the year.
Thank you, Hannah. That was super thorough. Thanks. So we'll be listening for maybe some new things that haven't been suggested. Can we have Terry from the 3-5 group, please?
So we have a lot of the same ones that the primaries did. For Structure Your Classroom, one thing that I didn't hear was moving between groups or transitioning, and room arrangement. For Teaching Expectations, model what you're expecting by using your body or role-playing or pictures, or we even heard slideshows. Using lessons, like make sure your lessons are prepared before to teach expectations. That way you make sure that you cover everything. Reteach as needed, and don't think of that as a negative, but use that as an opportunity to teach. For Observe and Supervise, we have using proximity, scanning, using specific feedback, non-judgmental, interacting positively, greeting students, use and learn their names quickly, smiling at them, a high numbers of ratio of interactions, positive to negative. Somebody mentioned using 10 positive interactions at the beginning of every day just to start the day off or class right. Recognizing achievements, nice notes home, and showing interest in the students themselves, either with journaling or questioning. Correct fluently, we have consistent, calm, immediately brief, respectful, using a menu of consequences, non-confrontational, have a plan for how you're going to react, don't make any threats you can't deliver, be mild, and especially I think as the kids get older in grade levels 3 through 5 and above, privacy becomes even more important, talking to the kids one-on-one, not in front of their peers.
Thanks, Terry. Lots of great stuff there. Can we hear from the group 9 through 12, please?
This is Christina. I think a lot of what we have has been said, but for Structure Your Classroom, having clear procedures, using checklists, Kagan strategies for teaching expectations, review them and review the expectations often. Specific lessons to model being clear with the learning objectives for observe and supervise, proximity, always moving, interact positively, using humor, eating with students, saying good morning, goodbye, letters and phone calls, compliment their work, just building that relationship before beginning to really teach content, and then correct fluently. In math specifically, have students describe the process, how they got their answer, talk softly and kindly, correct quietly and privately, and being consistent and calm.
Thank you, Christina. Fabulous. If I could add two things, just looking at those interactions, just smiling, and the consequences, having it be instructional. So that was just a wealth of information, and appreciate all of your participation and brainstorming and work together there. So let me return to tonight's standard for review. Standard 6, which is the engaging environment for some of you folks out there, that's Domain 2 for Danielson's. Professional Teaching Standard 6 is about implementing high expectations in a safe environment for responsible learners. We'll now revisit our earlier connector activity and see how we can solve some of the challenges listed tonight using the tools from both Ed's Learning Piece 1 and the Stoic Learning Piece 2. Ed?
Well, thank you, Lisa. You know, earlier this evening, everyone had an opportunity to list some challenges that they were having in the classroom, and they're listed up on the screen right now. So take your time and go through those. Just read some of those challenges, all of those challenges, and as you're reading them, think about some of the strategies and techniques that you heard about tonight. In two of those learning modules, we discussed and brought up some of those strategies and techniques that may help in the development of an effective and engaging environment. So I'm kind of hoping that we can apply some of these same strategies and techniques to some of the real challenges that we recorded during our first connector. So I'd like to invite everyone to help type on the right-hand side of the screen some ideas that you may have heard tonight that we could use to solve some of these challenges. For example, you know, someone on the left-hand side had mentioned, I'm having a problem with students nodding out in the classroom. On the right-hand side, we can put down possibly put chunking your period, help provide enough movement in the classroom to keep the students from falling asleep, which would be a good strategy to possibly help some of the students. So I'm going to get off the mic. I see people are getting started up there. Feel free to use the mic, and please feel free to offer any suggestions, even if they didn't show up in tonight's two learning sessions. Go ahead and put them down.
Hi, this is Rachel Gerard. One thing that I really related to was students not wanting to leave mom and come into the classroom. What I decided this year is parents drop off and pick up at the front of the school by the front office, which really helped with that more of a transition because they weren't coming into the classroom and having to do an abrupt type of thing. So my first week of school, I had a little boy cry every single day into classroom, and then on that fifth day, he was smiles and happy, and it's been like that from now on. So I definitely keep, you know, inviting the parents in the classroom, but letting them know that the first couple weeks and months, in fact, you know, only the students should really be in the classroom with me, creating that bond.
Rachel, thank you. That would make that transition a little easier.
Hi, this is Jan. I just want to say thanks to everybody out there. You guys are capturing great things, and for our first forum, I don't think we've ever had so many wonderful participants doing everything we expect. So this is fun. Thank you.
This is Hannah. I wanted to thank the participant who suggested having older students come in and model how to interact in the classroom. I work with 3-year-olds, and so I have the problem of throwing and crawling, and I think that's a brilliant idea to have some older students come in, or even myself and my co-teacher model appropriate ways to use objects. So thank you for that idea.
Yeah, Hannah, I want to add a little to that. I've actually seen 6th grade students, 7th grade students go into like 2nd and 3rd grade classes and teach specific lessons that were taught to them, you know, in their science class. Sometimes even in a social studies class when they're doing certain units. It's pretty powerful. You know, I remember someone saying how much more a child remembers when he actually does the teaching. So that is, man, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, just to piggyback on, this is Liz in Togiak. I've seen upper elementary students do skits and then go down into the lower elementary. One time, the ones I saw were on respect and the importance of respect, and even the K students really responded well to seeing those older students come in and model.
Thank you, Liz from Togiak. And it seems to have slowed down a little bit. Boy, if you have an opportunity to take a picture of this screen, get one. I hope your challenges were answered, or hopefully a tip or a strategy or technique was posted on your challenge if you specifically put one up there. If not, boy, there are a lot of people out there that could help out. So let's take advantage of our peers. Let's take advantage of our mentors. Let's take advantage of some of our veteran teachers down the hall. Ask for suggestions. Ask people to help out. Ask people to come in and do some observations and give you some ideas. Hopefully we could, that would help us become a better teacher and help move us along in our profession. So thank you all for participating. I appreciate it. So we're now going to, now having done these 2 learning pieces, I'm going to move this on to into our culture connection with Jan. Jan, are you out there?
Sure am. Thanks, everybody. Ed and Lisa for those 2 learning pieces. I'm Jan Little Bear, 6-year with Mentor Project, 24 in Alaska, 30 in education. I've taught 3rd through 8, fell in love with middle schoolers, mentored for 3 years in rural and urban Alaska, and now I try to assist all mentors and early career teachers with cultural connections. I have the fun job of providing you with cultural connections, ideas that we hope will help enrich your experience of teaching with diverse populations while making your content more relevant for all learners. Whether urban with much diversity or rural hubs and village teachers with less diversity, culture matters no matter where you teach. A part of our coursework will always include a short cultural connection, resources, ideas, and things to think about. So just sit back and see if any of these things connect for you. Have your pencil ready or a screenshot move so you can capture some of the websites that we're going to be sharing. Standard number 3 from the Alaska Teaching Standards is all about respecting the individual and culture, and through it we bring in the cultural standards, which are going to be part of your evaluation system in Alaska for this next year. Ed and Dave spoke of classroom management earlier, and you may not know it, but the 4 ideas suggested by Wong for this focus also has many cultural things. Lisa and Don brought in Stoic from Champs, and in the Champs introduction book, they actually touch upon cultural competence, telling us there is a new chapter in their latest edition for working with students who come from cultures different than yours. So recognizing how important this is when creating an equitable classroom environment that engages all students. Today we're just going to direct you to a few resources that will help you keep culture connections in your instruction. Don't worry about the notes because the slides are available to you in a few minutes. For all of you taking this as a credit course, I will also post these resources later on Blackboard under Resources. First, you should know how to get this guide to implementing the cultural standards. The website is provided for you and is easily accessible online. Next, the Alaska Native Knowledge Network has everything you ever wanted to know about Alaska Natives. Their value, belief posters, lessons, explore it. It really does give you a lot of good info. And don't worry if you can't copy it, like we all keep telling you, they're going to be available. While these strategies and guides were created for Alaska Native students, most are easily used with any child of any culture. The important lesson here is to get to know the cultures of the students represented in your classroom each and every year. It is important. I come from Mountain View Elementary and Middle School, and I can tell you that it was normal to have 6 to 8 different cultures in there, so I had to approach it a little bit differently. When I mentored, I had an early career teacher who was so successful, I'm actually sharing what she did as a cultural connection. My first year of mentoring in 2007, I worked with a teacher in her first year of teaching in a rural Alaskan community. She came from outside Alaska, but every time I visited her face-to-face, there were parents helping, or she was out in the community, or students were at her place helping with some chore she had for them. Towards the end of the year, I asked her how she had managed to be so involved with the community her first year in the village. Her response was that she made getting involved with the community a personal goal, and in order to achieve it, she did the first 11 things on this list. I added the 12th from my own experience working within that urban multicultural classroom where it was normal to have all of those languages. Normally I would cold call on somebody and have you read through these, but I'm going to, in the interest of time, just hope that you've glanced at them. And perhaps one of the most important is number 8, participating in extracurricular activities. And number 9 is something I can remember her doing, where she had interviewed families and posted their biography complete with pictures out in the room and hallway. One time when I showed up, she had PowerPoints running in the hallway for the parents showing things that had been going on in the village. So just know that there is a lot that you can do. She was successful in her first year. Her students achieved well. And I'm sure she would tell you it's because she chose to get involved with and learn as much as she could about the community where she lived. She once told me she felt it was her responsibility to make the first moves when it came to meeting her new neighbors and becoming involved with her new community. She also shared that she had the utmost respect for everyone she met and that she tried very hard to have an open mind about every single thing she learned that first year. And she learned a lot. She taught me a lot. She served me seal meat spaghetti on one of my visits. She said she found herself listening like she had never listened before. So for now, simply think about how can you get involved in your community if rural, or perhaps involved with the parents of your students if urban. Here's one more resource from that same website shown earlier, and it's just posters. I know it's difficult to read, but I did an activity with our mentors early this year where we just took different value system posters and we talked about how we could have the kids brainstorm their own, and in the city this would work really well because you've got so many different cultures. And then from those posters that the kids come up with, create one that's for your classroom that year. There's some questions you might ask yourself. Do you know how to find the culture, value system, belief systems in your classroom right now? Does your school have representations of all cultures somewhere on the walls, in the library, or in the books that you read? If so, terrific. And if not, how can you help make that happen? And how can we help you make that happen? Simply refer to these posters, suggesting it would be an activity. They're a starting point for culturally responsive teaching. The target for your instruction would be to teach through the cultures, not just about the cultures. With procedures and routines in place in your classroom management, as well as having STOIC in your toolbox, and with an awareness and implementation of cultural standards across Alaska, urban, rural, and village, you are well on your way truly to creating a successful classroom environment by managing the things you do with your students. I'm going to post a website in the chat box, and you might go to that. One of our mentors shared it earlier this week, and it was wonderful for classroom management, so there's even more resources. Now we have one more component to our 8 forums, and perhaps it's the most important, you. So let's not forget about ourselves. How?
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jan, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone, and my name is Hal Neese, and I live in Homer, Alaska. I've taught 33 years in the Kenai Peninsula, a school district, as both a middle and high school science teacher, and I'm now in my 7th year as a statewide mentor, serving teachers in Southwest Region School District and the North Slope School District, where I am this evening. Now, an important Alaska teaching standard is number 8, and it's titled Developing as a Professional. This graphic on the slide shows one important way to model a balanced professional life and personal life, and we will be touching on these themes in our next 7 forums, including tonight. The Mentor Project believes it's vital that we maintain and sustain a balanced professional life throughout. And therefore, in each of these next forums, we'll briefly going to look at that important aspect of being a professional educator. Now, there's no doubt that teaching is a tough profession, and it doesn't seem to be getting any easier as the years go by. Teachers manage an incredible array of roles and responsibilities, including planning and teaching lessons, communicating with parents, collaborating with colleagues, and staying current on the educational trends we face, and of course the new legal policies. Now tonight we've looked at procedures and routines and structures for classroom and behavioral management and considerations for culture, and we want to now look at ourselves and how we work as professionals. One of the ways we're going to do that is look at this graph. Now this graph illustrates 5 different phases that most beginning teachers go through sometime during their 1st or 2nd year. And it's based on a national study, and it's published in the New Teachers Complete Sourcebook. Well, tonight I'm simply going to introduce the graph to you, and I'm going to list the 5 phases, and then in the next few forums we'll look at more in depth at these phases. It's a time graph, and you might look at where you are at this time. But the first phase is called the anticipation phase, and it's when we begin school, just a few weeks ago, full of excitement, ready to put hard-earned teaching credentials to use and making that big difference in our students' lives. And that leads to the second phase, the survival phase. The first month of school, for many of us, can be overwhelming, for sure, and beginning teachers often struggle with the day-to-day operations of the classroom and the work countless hours each week, especially if you're coaching and doing other curricular activities. The third phase excuse me, is the disillusionment phase, and it's a combination of stress and overwhelming responsibilities that can throw a new teacher right into this phase. Now, the classroom management issues can be discouraging, but if you apply many that you learned tonight, I think you'll find that much less stressful. If you find yourself in this phase, it's a good time to call your mentor or that fellow trusted colleague down the hall. And the fourth phase is the rejuvenation phase. This comes when teachers have survived the craziness of the holidays, the first semester's behind them, they've had some time to relax with family and friends. They've made progress with their management of the classroom, and they finally now have time to do some planning and organizing for the rest of the school year. And this cycles right into the last and 5th phase called the reflection phase. For now, teachers often begin, they refine their teaching, they're keeping what works, and they're looking toward next year and rejecting what didn't work. This reflection then leads right into the next school year, the anticipation for a new opportunity to grow professionally. I know I went through that pretty fast, but in conclusion, it's always good to know where you are in any profession, but especially in teaching. And maybe more importantly, it's wonderful to know that you're never alone in any of these phases. Every single mentor has experienced these phases, and some of us, I know myself, many, many times. They are normal, and we have all been there, and we understand the cycle. So pick up the phone, call your mentor, or again, that trusted colleague that you rely on, or send that email anytime to gain additional support and further understanding whenever you feel you need to connect on any issue that you might be facing with the goal of keeping balanced in your important work. Just remember, there is really terrific and great strength in our collaborations. Now, there's support for you no matter where you place yourself on the graph. The suggestions you can retrieve in the form of articles about the graph and STOIC and other helpful information can be found online, and we'll put this resource on the materials list of the Blackboard for your easy access and your retrieval after this program. And while we tend to think that we should be self-sufficient and able to cope with our problems and handle stress effectively, when we are experiencing tough times, reaching out for support and guidance is really one of our most effective tools we have. Now, I enjoy photography, and it's one of the ways that balance my life, and just as a personal hobby. And I've always liked this photo and the message it conveys, because balance truly is the key to life. Well, tonight's objectives were to gain a better understanding of how to create a structure for your classroom management that provides an effective environment that engages your students so they're really ready to learn. And right now, I just want to give you a quick reminder that our next forum is coming up on a Thursday. It'll be October 15th, and it'll be from 8 p.m. or from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. same time, and it'll be titled Alaska Teaching and Cultural Standards and the Alaska Teacher Evaluation Models, mostly on the Danielson and the Marzano models that most districts have adopted, and then of course there's an alternative to that. So mark this on your calendar if you plan to join our second forum, and we really do hope you'll join us in October. We're running just a little bit short, and I want to be respectful of your time as hardworking professionals. So this was our agenda, and I'm not going to read that for you. We've covered an immense amount of ground tonight with great content that hopefully you can use. And that's going to move us right into our final slide for the evening. And I just want to thank you, as other people that presented tonight have thanked you, for participating this evening. And we look forward to your continued conversations, not only with your mentor, but your colleagues that you work with. And we've come to this reflection assignment. And if you are a first and a second year early career teacher, I want you to email your reflection to both your mentor and the facilitator of your grade level group by 9 p.m. this evening. All other K-12 educators, if you're in your third year and onward, we would like you to email your reflection to Jan Littlebear, as well as complete the other work required for you in this class. You have a choice of a journal, article, and reflection, or a lesson plan and a delivery reflection. Just see the syllabus, and if you have any questions on that, folks, just address those to Jan. Also, we suggest that you keep an archival copy of each of these reflections in these forums that you're going to be submitting, because they will greatly assist you when you complete your final 3 to 5 page paper, and that'll be a reflection paper in April to get full credit for the expansion forum class. We would also like to thank all of you for attending this evening's forum on the management, and I'd like to specifically thank those who presented tonight's lesson. Ed and Dave for being there, Lisa and Don, Betty in the wings, and Jan and Carol, and other support mentors who were with us tonight and were present to add to our conversations. So our reflection is a tool that many of you use in your classroom. It's called the 3-2-1 strategy, and you can see on the screen. For tonight, we want you to considering the different pieces that we delivered to you. Write down 3 procedures and routines that you can put into place very soon to address classroom management in your classroom. Then 2 elements of STOIC that spoke to you this evening, and what did you hear? And then one way that you can be culturally responsive in the teaching that you do. Early career teachers, please respond to the expansion coordinators. That would be Carol, if you're a first-year teacher, and myself, Hal, if you're a second, and their emails and our emails, as you can see, are on the screen there before you. And then all other teachers respond to Jan by 9 p.m. this evening, and her email is also on the screen. Now, are there any questions? I would like to just turn the mic off real quick, and if not, then we'll conclude the evening.
Terry, I'll turn the mic over to you. What's your question?
Can we just jot quick responses in an email to you for this tonight?
As long as it answers those questions, of course. The one thing we didn't put on the screen we should have is we also need your graphic organizer that we've been reminding you to use all night long. But yes, of course, we want to make it easy.
Can we mail that? I mean, if we don't have a scanner at our house, how can we get that to you by 9 tonight?
All the others, don't worry about the 9 tonight, but do worry about it by 9 tomorrow night. Sorry, mentored ECTs, but my people didn't know about this, so yes, that'll be fine, Terry.
Thank you.
So are you saying, Janice, that we don't have to have the reflection and our graphic organizer to you by 9 tonight? We can have it to you tomorrow?
I am saying for this one time only, because most of you just met me and just got this today, yes. But the normal will be everybody has everything in by 9 p.m. Yep. And in a minute, we're going to unclick the follow arrow, which means you can actually spend the next hour from now until 9 p.m. scrolling through all of the slides if there are things you missed or things that you want to do. Any other questions?
This is dumb maybe, but what if we don't have a scanner at our house? Like when we do this again for the next one, how would we get the graphic organizer to you?
Don suggested something great. Take a picture with your camera, and then you just message it to me or send it to me. We've got enough technology out. We'll work through those issues. We're pretty flexible. But the organizer really is an important piece of what we're doing because it keeps you on track throughout the 2 hours, and it helps us see what we need to do to improve as well. So we'll figure it out. Other questions?
Well, those are great. Those are great questions, and they bring clarity. And maybe even take a screenshot, and then that can be attached and sent. So, okay, thank you very much. And I apologize for not mentioning the graphic organizer to everyone. It is a key part of tonight's presentation. And I'll turn the mic off here in just a second if there's any further questions. But in the expediency of time, because it's been a long evening, I want to thank you all again for the professionalism and the dedication and just the plain hard work that you give your students day in and day out, and in the communities that you serve in the great state of Alaska. Your inspiration and the influence that you have to your students, remember, it never stops. So until next time, have a great rest of this week. Have an enjoyable and balanced weekend, and please keep in touch until our next forum, and thank you all very much. Now, there may be more questions, so I'm going to click the mic off. Good evening.
We will leave the slides available for 1 hour, and all of the facilitators and wing people, if you could put yourselves in that extra room, we will debrief.